Welcome everyone, I'm Mandy Kaur. I'm the Marketing and Student Recruitment Coordinator here at the School of Business and Management. And I'm joined by Dr. Yasmin Ibrahim, who will be talking about our new MSc Marketing programs at the school. So let's get started.
Thank you, Mandy. I'm Professor Yasmin Ibrahim, Head of the Marketing Department in the School of Business and Management at Queen Mary University of London. Great to see all of you. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through both our flagship program and the 5 new programs we are introducing for the September 2022 intake. So we are the School of Business and Management, and here we go, new programs. Mandy, next slide. So these are the new programs. As you know, the existing flagship program is the MSc Marketing program. The MSc Marketing program has got something unique to it in the sense that there are 2 intakes happening. One in September, and we've got another intake that happens in the second term, which is January. So that's quite distinct in terms of the portfolio, and that's the only program right now which has got 2 intakes. Now in September 2022, we are launching 5 new marketing programs, and the 5 new marketing programs are unique in their own proposition, and these are MSc International Marketing and Business Strategies, MSc Marketing and Digital Analytics, MSc Digital Marketing, MSc Marketing and Digital Communications, and MSc International Marketing and Consumer Psychology. All of these are now online, and you can further find out more information on the course finder. Next one. Okay, so as I mentioned, there's been a rationale for some time to introduce new offerings. First of all, we want to make it much more cutting edge in terms of what we offer. We know that marketing as a domain of study has been shifting emphasis through time, mainly because of the new information communication technologies, or what we call ICTs. And within that remit of changes, a new dynamic is happening, in the sense that new technologies are recodifying the ways in which we communicate, engage, and quantify the market. So there's been a huge pressing need to review the curriculum, bring it up to date, but also be empathetic to the kind of new emergent sectors that have been evolving through time. It's been something that has been thought through for some time. And that is the reason we are launching the 5 new offerings together in September. And each of these strands, as I go through the programs, you will realize, speak to different modes of emphasis. Now, we know that the existing MSc Marketing gives a broad overview. It's still one of the most successful programs in the University of London offerings. It does look at both the B2B and the B2C. B2B is business to business communication. B2C is business to consumer communication. The mix of B2B and B2C remains an emphasis within MSc Marketing because it reaches out with the rationale of providing an overview for the marketing sector alongside communication and other dimensions that have affected it, including digital marketing. So one of the things I want to actually emphasize is the existing program, which is the MSc Marketing, remains intact as an offering, and its USP is designed around 2 intakes, one in September 2022, and the other one in January 2022 as well. Now, as I go through the distinct offerings of the 5 new programs, what you will realize is that we have designed it around specific thematic areas. And the grid of modules are designed to address these themes as well. So as I mentioned, whether you are joining us from home as a home student, or whether you are joining us from an international domain, all of it is going to be tapping into employability aspects of the sectors that we are actually looking at in terms of scrutiny within the curriculum and also outside after you have graduated from our degree. Mandy, next slide. So what are the requirements? What are we looking at? One of the things that is quite distinct is that we have made it possible for students coming in to actually select a program with the same criteria. So we are looking at 2-1 in terms of your bachelor's degree. And we haven't set a boundary in terms of whether it's got to be a resonant marketing degree that you've got to possess before joining us. It can be from any field. And also you can see the IELTS requirement is stated there as well. So it's really important to remember that even if you initially thought about MSc Marketing, the other 5 new programs have the same entry requirement as well, which means that you are indeed besieged by choice. You can then decide amongst the 6 programs which one you want to enroll in. Next one. Okay, what are we looking at? I want to give a broad overview in terms of the new MSc Digital Marketing. The new MSc Digital Marketing is very empathetic to the dynamics of the changing data revolution that's happening within digital economy. And we're looking at a rapidly changing market. We know that technology and the notion of the digital economy are very much reconfiguring, not just marketing, but the business operations as well. So we are looking at what do we mean by digital marketing in terms of providing the right strategic mix of tactical skills and knowledge to develop consumer, or rather customer insights to deliver, design, and communicate products and services within the market. Now, the ambient intelligence that's provided by the data economy is an important element of MSc Digital Marketing. And within that, we are going to be looking at strategic mix of what we traditionally, conventionally call the 4 Ps, right? So we are looking at the agility in terms of response, in terms of communicating to a data economy. A lot of you may have heard about datafication, and datafication is the extrapolation and mining of data through relevant strategies so that you can deliver the right kind of marketing mix within any global environment. And hence, the curriculum for MSc Digital Marketing is very much designed around these core elements in terms of speaking to the digital economy, understanding the modes of data mining, and doing the strategic mix in terms of offering those to the market as well. So the foundational and knowledge skills are very much imbued within this premise. Next one, Mandy, thanks. So in terms of the programs that we are looking at, in terms of the curriculum design, we've given you a breakdown of MSc Digital Marketing program modules. And it's really important to understand that there is a distinction that we have built within all our program offerings as well. One of the key elements in terms of MSc Digital Marketing here is that you have a choice between a conventional dissertation. You could do a conventional dissertation, which is your 60 credit module, which will occur in any marketing based or master's based program that you are enrolled in. But in this particular program, we also give you an alternative, which is business game simulation. And that works slightly different because it's a much more structured way of doing a dissertation through the kind of strategic interventions you'd be making within an analytical simulated model. So this is really interesting. And also, if you look at your semester A core modules and your semester B core modules, it's very much ingrains the digital analytics. It very much ingrains the kind of networked marketing that's emerging within the data economy. But what is also exciting in terms of the electives is we've updated many of the kind of interesting stuff that's emerging within the digital economy, including things like brand storytelling, which is a very dynamic way of reaching audiences through storytelling as a mode of communication. It's happening in a lot of platforms, and we're bringing that kind of interesting dimension, but also cutting edge dimension back into digital marketing. Next one. So another new program that we have introduced is called MSc International Marketing and Business Strategies. There are a number of students who join us who are slightly not entirely sure that it's only marketing that they want to do. Some of them enter the remit thinking, I want to do marketing, but I also want to understand the sort of symbiotic relationship between marketing and business. I want to understand how they are together embedded. And this particular program speaks to the two. Remember, we are delivering the marketing program within a business school, which is critical management, which has established a curriculum over time, and which means it's got the kind of expertise to deliver not just marketing expediently and with professional expertise, it's also got a backstory in terms of critical management. And what we have done here with this particular offering is that we have provided both our strengths. We've taken into account the kind of challenges that have been presented within international marketing within a changing environment, which I spoke about with MSc Digital Marketing. But we've also gone back into the kind of critical strategic business theories and practical skills and foundational knowledge which shape each other. So what are we looking at in terms of its USP? The USP here is the integration of business strategy and also an insight into the sort of business landscape that can inflect international marketing as well. So if you're a student seeking to look at a degree in which you want to marry up both the business management elements as well as the inflections of international marketing, this particular program is sensitive to the dual demands of both marketing and business strategy. Next slide, Mandy. And so if you look at the breakdown of the core, compulsory, and electives, they then mix together strategic management. It also has global marketing and communications. If you're joining us particularly from an international environment and you want to be able to imbue those very contextually related knowledge back into your practice, we've made sure that that is going to be possible with the choice of core, compulsory, and electives as well. So you would see entrepreneurship, for example. You would also see services management. In terms of dissertation, this one remains the conventional dissertation. We've not offered games modules with it because it's very much speaking to, as I said, the integration of international marketing within a business domain. So, yeah, we can move on to the next program. And the third program I'd like to speak to you about speaks about the emphasis and expertise that is existing presently within the marketing department in Queen Mary. It's got a very strong consumer psychology expertise. We have a lot of our academics who are doing vital research in this area. And the USP of this specific program speaks to consumer psychology. We know today that even with data science, a lot of data science is shaped by and influenced through marketing psychology. And this remains a very important dimension of the digital economy. And so there is a way in which we built the consumer orientation, what we call the B2C orientation through consumer psychology here. And the one important element that we are very cognizant about with consumer psychology is we want to integrate cross-cultural paradigms into the study of consumer culture. And this is really important because today, consumer culture is very different because it's not just the offline cultures that we are talking about. It is actually the merging of the offline culture with the online culture. And this politics of consumption that you're talking about in terms of the appropriation of digital technologies is a very fused mode of technology in terms of understanding consumer orientations. Now, that doesn't mean that we are only understanding consumer culture through technological mediation. We are also understanding consumer psychology through conventional modes of understanding the politics of consumption as well. So we are infusing both the traditional marketing concepts, but we haven't foreclosed what that has done in terms of the age of platformization. Platformization is just a fancy term to capture the different digital platforms which have influenced the ways in which we communicate, talk back, consume, and have conversations about the market. And those are the kinds of norms and behavior which are emerging as we speak. And we are trying to understand it in terms of creating that as a strategic point of intervention with consumer psychology. Next slide, Mandy. And so taking into the emphasis the USP of consumer psychology, you can see straight away the emphasis is built around consumer behavior as your compulsory module in semester A. You also have your consumer and digital cultures that's happening as well. An important dimension of consumer behavior is what we call social marketing, using social justice frameworks to understand the ways in which you can influence social issues through marketing concepts, what we call social marketing. We also have brand storytelling on this because it's a big dimension of consumer behavior today. But in terms of the electives, again, we have given very interesting and relevant electives that will build a holistic dimension to consumer psychology, including advertising and media strategies. We've also put in integrated digital communications and campaigning. Campaigning is a big part of consumer psychology today. And in terms of the core module, dissertation remains the core module. And dissertation for this particular program is the conventional dissertation in which you pick a piece of original research to undertake either with secondary or original data for which you're making a contribution in your own right. So that's your MSc International Marketing and Consumer Psychology. Next slide, Mandy. Thank you. Now, the fourth program that I want to introduce is a program that is very unique to this offering and unique to the whole of the market offerings within University of London universities, okay? Because none of the universities are offering anything on digital analytics. Now, what is digital analytics? We know that marketing today does not survive without an attendant mode of understanding how data is falling, where data is falling, and how that can be reconceptualized as intelligence on the ground. This is slightly different from MSc Digital Marketing because digital marketing looks at digital modes of marketing, whereas this particular program looks at the kind of analytics that can fall within the business domain. And so how do we use data? What do we understand by open data? What is the governance around data? And what can we use to make strategic interventions in the digital economy. And while in MSc Digital Marketing, the emphasis is on digital marketing as a domain of influence, in this particular one, we look at marketing concepts, but we also look at digital analytics beyond marketing and the ways in which tracking, measuring, regulating, and coding human behavior and consumer behavior online through the data economy becomes the basis of influence. Let me show you the curriculum for this one. Mandy, next one. And one of the things I want to emphasize in terms of points of difference from the MSc Digital Marketing is if you look at the core offerings, dissertation particularly. Now the dissertation, which is a 60-credit module for all of the MScs, in this particular one, you will be given open data and you will be taught the methodologies to actually extrapolate the open data. And these are open data archives that we will be offering that you can use. And you will be given training to actually use many of these things in aid of designing an original dissertation project. This remains distinctive to the program. And in view of that, the research methods, the theoretical and compulsory modules will dovetail with that emphasis as well. So you've got your business digital analytics going on. You also have an overview of the digital economy, big data, and platformization as your issues and concepts scrutiny, which doesn't actually occur in any of the other programs. So this is very much designed around the idea of digital analytics as a mode of scrutiny that will influence your, not just your marketing interventions, but also the use of ambient intelligence that will map onto a wider way of looking at the digital society. So it's slightly broader than MSc Digital Marketing, and it's slightly more evolved in terms of the data that you're using, because you'll be working with open data, and you will also identify and be sensitive to what is good governance of open data. So that's for digital analytics. Next one. Now we've got MSc Marketing and Digital Communications. Why are we calling this digital communications? Now, conventional communications looked at primarily conventional media. Now, with the emergence of new media technologies, the notion of communication has become broader, much more complex in terms of what we understand as the ecology of communications. And we want to build an emphasis between the emergence of digital communications and the whole sort of mushrooming of new digital cultures, which are very much alike to how do we do marketing in an international domain. Unlike the other programs, the emphasis on this one remains between the synergy that is created through digital communications and how that is influencing marketing as a domain of practice. Now, digital communications today is not just communications that's created by the marketer, but it's also communications that can be created by users, what we call user-generated content, but also by interlopers, people who are influencing the market, who are people that marketers themselves can co-opt to market for them. We can call them influencers if you like, or we can call them people who are in between the market and audiences who can reshape influence and social and material consumptions on the ground. So this is an important dimension of growth for the business school itself, because it comes to terms with the kind of revolutionary changes that have happened in the domain of both digital economy and datafication as we know it, okay? So let's go to the curriculum for this one, Mandy. The curriculum, one of the important dimensions of this particular element is that while we give you an overview with the digital economy, similar to the digital analytics that I spoke about, it actually builds its emphasis through advertising and media strategies as a compulsory module, not as an elective. It looks at other dimensions of the marketing theory, particularly influencer marketing. If you look at networked and influencer marketing, we recognize that it's no longer bottom-up or top-down marketing that we're talking about. We are talking about influence happening and shaping elements of marketing in different ways. We also look at sustainable issues. Our sustainability issues are really important today as well. We've got electives that also cover elements that you might be interested in, as we talked about previously, brand storytelling. So we are incorporating both the consumer and digital cultures. That is an important dimension of digital marketing. But we are also making sure that we are speaking to a market which is rapidly changing all the time because of different modes of social capital accruing through the influencer as a potential figure of disruption. If you look at the dissertation module is conventional in the sense that you will be looking at something that is relevant within the fields and theories that we are talking about, either from marketing or digital communications, and we will be sort of shaping the dissertation questions around key theories and concepts that influence both marketing and digital communication as a mode of praxis. So that's for this program.